Welcome to Reddit Confessions.
I toasted to family, then exposed my wife's affair with my cousin, in front of everyone, with a slideshow. It was supposed to be a weekend of wine, rest, and reconnection. A family retreat to Aunt Evelyn's estate in Napa Valley, where the hills roll like velvet and the air smells like crushed grapes and secrets. We'd done it before, a few times. A long weekend with the extended Whitman clan, pretending we were close, pretending we liked each other. But this time was different. This time, I wasn't just pretending. I'm Jake Whitman, 36, tech consultant, the quiet type people mistake for soft. I like things in order, emails responded to, shoes lined up, wine decanted properly. My wife, Samantha, used to say I could turn pain into spreadsheets. She said it like a joke. I didn't laugh. Samantha is 34, beautiful in a way that photographs well. The kind of woman who knows her angles, who knows when to laugh and how loud. To the world, she's magnetic. At home, she's restless. She used to tap her foot when we watched movies. Used to scroll Instagram in bed. Used to sigh when she thought I wasn't listening. We have no kids. Not for lack of trying. Maybe that was part of the distance. Or maybe it was just inevitable. Some people grow closer. Some grow secrets. Aunt Evelyn, the matriarch, owns the vineyard. She's 62 and sharp as broken glass. The kind of woman who could smile while skinning you alive. She invited everyone out for a wine tasting weekend. Said it was about bonding. Said she missed the old days. But I know Evelyn. She doesn't miss things unless they benefit her. Brandon, my cousin, was coming too. The free-spirited photographer. The wanderer. The charming, reckless type who always lands on his feet and in someone else's bed. I hadn't seen him in over a year. That was intentional. We arrived Friday afternoon. Samantha wore white linen and wide sunglasses. She kissed me on the cheek when we got out of the car. Looked picture perfect. She always did. That night, while she showered, I picked up her iPad. Not to snoop. Not intentionally. The notification just popped up. One of those iCloud sync alerts. A new photo had been uploaded. A thumbnail preview appeared for half a second. It was enough. Samantha, naked, laughing. Brandon's hand. Unmistakable. I didn't react. Not outwardly. I just tapped the screen again. The photo was gone. Hidden in some private folder, or perhaps deleted from her phone, but not from the cloud. I opened the Photos app. Searched by date. And there it was. Her face, flushed. His hand on her thigh. Their bodies tangled in a way that made my skin crawl. I didn't scream. I didn't confront her. I scrolled. More photos. Dates. Locations. Then I saw one that stopped my breath cold. The date stamp was from yesterday. She had slept with him the night before we left for the vineyard. And today, she kissed me like nothing happened. I locked the iPad. Sat on the edge of the bed. Heard the shower stop. I knew what I had to do. Not scream. Not cry. Plan. She kissed me right after sleeping with him. Her lips tasted like mint and wine and something I couldn't name, something bitter. I let her kiss linger, smiled back, brushed a strand of hair from her face like a husband should. And I watched as her eyes flickered, just for a second, not with guilt, but with calculation. The estate was buzzing by noon. Luggage scattered in the entryway, voices echoing off marble, laughter forced through old wounds. Evelyn ran things like a general preparing for war. She handed out room keys like weapons. Jake, Samantha, you'll be in the Syrah suite, she said. Best view on the west wing. Brandon, you're in Malbuck. Across the courtyard. Of course he was. The rest of the family showed up in waves. Uncles with thick wallets and thin patience. Aunts with plastic smiles. Cousins with Instagram filters for personalities. The Whitman clan in all its curated dysfunction. We drank that first afternoon. A private tasting led by Evelyn herself. Notes of cherry, oak, regret. Brandon arrived late. Sunglasses on. Camera slung around his neck like a trophy. Samantha beamed when she saw him. Not too much. Just enough. A fraction too bright for a cousin. Jake, Brandon said, pulling me in for a half hug. Still keeping the tech world spinning, huh? Still pretending photography pays the bills. I replied. He laughed. Like nothing in the world could touch him. like he hadn't just ed my wife 2 nights ago. Later, he handed me a gift. A vintage bottle of wine wrapped in dark red tissue. Thought you'd appreciate this one, he said. Something rare. Samantha froze. Just for a second. Her smile twitched. Her hand tightened around her glass. Thanks, I said. We'll open it together. Brandon winked. Looking forward to it. That night, at dinner, I made the first move. To family, I said, lifting my glass. Samantha clinked hers against mine. Brandon raised his last, smiling like the bastard he is. In that moment, I decided he'd regret ever calling me family. They thought they were sneaky. I made sure they kept thinking that. The next morning started slow. Brunch under the veranda. Sunlight on stone. Evelyn's estate was almost too perfect, like betrayal couldn't touch a place so polished. Samantha sat next to me, laughing at some joke my uncle told. Her hand brushed mine, light, deliberate. Her smile was too relaxed, too clean, the kind you rehearse in a mirror. Across the table, Brandon poured himself another mimosa. His eyes flicked to Samantha. A glance, a twitch, like a whisper without sound. I studied them. Like code, like a glitch I was learning to exploit. By noon, I'd started collecting data. iPad backed up. Photos saved to an external drive. Screenshots taken. Deleted folder accessed. She wasn't careful. Most people aren't when they think you're stupid. Evelyn noticed. You're quiet, Jake, she said, handing me a glass of Pinot. Too quiet. Just taking it all in, I replied. She tilted her head. That hawk-like gaze. Is that what we're calling it now? I smiled. Tasted the wine. Let the pause stretch just enough. Everything's perfect, I said, slipping an arm around Samantha's waist. For now? That evening, I made sure to walk in on a conversation between Samantha and Brandon in the tasting room. Laughter. Too soft. Too close. I didn't say anything. Just walked in, smiled, poured myself a glass of Cabernet, and walked out. Let them wonder. Later, I left my phone on the counter while I showered. The screen lit up. Brandon, did he see us? We need to be careful. I took a screenshot. Backed it up. Samantha never mentioned it. Neither did I. I just kept pretending. If you want someone to reveal a secret, get them drunk. I invited Brandon for a private tasting in the cellar the next evening. Just the two of us. Guys catching up. He brought his camera, of course. Said he wanted to capture the aesthetic decay of wine in silence. Whatever that meant. I handed him a glass instead. The cellar was cold and dim, lit by antique sconces and decades of bad decisions. I picked a bottle I knew he'd like. Bold. Overconfident. Just like him. To old times, I said, clinking my glass against his. And new beginnings, Brandon replied, grinning. We drank. And drank. He talked. God, did he talk. About Italy. About women. About the art of disappearing when life got boring. I let him ramble. We all need our little escapes, right? He said eventually, swirling his glass. I raised an eyebrow. You escaping something now, Brandon? He chuckled. Just chasing what makes me feel alive. Another glass. Another round. You ever get bored, Jake? He asked. I mean, with the whole marriage thing. Routine. Predictability. Knowing exactly how your night ends before it starts. Sometimes, I said carefully, but I like knowing where I stand. Brandon leaned back against the brick. That's the thing. Some people live in truth. Others survive in the lie. He didn't know it, but I was recording him. Audio only. Phone in my pocket. Clear enough. Don't worry, Brandon added, smiling lazily. Some things are better left in the dark. I smiled back. Sometimes, I said. But sometimes, darkness just hides the rot. She offered me a glass of wine, the same bottle she drank with him. It was subtle. Too subtle for most. But I knew the label. I had seen it in the photo she thought was deleted. A boutique vintage from Paso Robles, her favorite. And his, apparently. I saved this one for tonight, she said, holding the bottle up like a peace offering. Felt like something special. I took the glass without flinching. To us, I said and sipped. She watched me drink it. Watched my face for signs. For knowing. For revenge. I gave her nothing. Just a smile. She curled up beside me on the couch, legs tucked under her. The firelight danced in her eyes. We were alone in the west sitting room, late, the rest of the house quiet. Too quiet. You've been different this weekend, she said finally. Different how? I don't know. Softer. Closer. Like you're trying again. I turned to her. Maybe I am. Her hand moved to my thigh. Slowly. Cautiously. Testing. I want us to be good again, she whispered. And then she kissed me. Soft. Slow. Familiar. Her skin against mine didn't feel like love anymore. It felt like strategy. We had sex on the couch. Quietly. Like two people trying to remember who they used to be. Or trying to forget who they really are. After, she rested her head on my chest. Her breathing slowed. And all I could think about was the slideshow. The photos. The faces. The sound of betrayal recorded in stereo. I stared up at the ceiling and imagined the final toast. The gasps. The silence. The destruction. Aunt Evelyn doesn't miss things, especially betrayal. She found me pruning dead leaves off a potted fig tree by the terrace. I wasn't doing it for the plant. I just needed something to touch that wasn't shaking with rage. You always did like to keep your hands busy, she said, stepping into the sun with a martini in hand. No olive. Just lemon. Classic Evelyn. Keeps me from saying things I shouldn't, I replied. She watched me for a moment. No smile. No warmth. Just that sharp mind taking inventory. Brandon's been circling, she said finally. He's always been a vulture. I meant Samantha. I didn't flinch. Just trimmed another leaf. She's been playing hostess like her life depends on it. Evelyn continued. But she looks at him like she wants to be caught. I looked up. And what would you do if she was? Evelyn sipped her drink. Depends on who catches her. We stared at each other. Two people with too many truths between them. I have proof, I said quietly. Photos. Messages. Even a recording. She didn't blink. Just nodded. Good. Then we burned them slow. Not fast. Not loud. Elegant. Elegant. You've been married long enough to know Samantha fears one thing more than consequence. Exposure. Exactly. She reached into her purse and handed me a flash drive. Just in case you want a second backup. I took it without asking how she knew. Evelyn smiled for the first time. Let me help you ruin them. But elegantly. I raised my glass. We'll serve them truth. She clinked it with hers. With a side of Merlot. She told me she was going for a run. I watched her meet him behind the olive trees. It was early. Still mist on the vines. Samantha tied her hair into a loose ponytail, slipped on her sneakers, and kissed me goodbye with a smile that tasted like routine. Just a quick jog to clear my head, she said. I nodded. Be safe. I waited 5 minutes, then followed at a distance. The vineyard stretches for acres. Rows of grapes arched like soldiers under sunlit discipline. But past the rows, tucked behind Evelyn's olive grove, is a walking trail no one uses. Except them. I moved slow, quiet, used the trees as cover. And there they were. Samantha and Brandon. No kiss, not at first. Just tension. Bodies tilted too close. His hand brushed hers. She looked around. Then she leaned in. They didn't see me. I stayed just close enough to hear. This can't go on, Samantha whispered. It doesn't have to. We leave. After the weekend. Together, Brandon said. And Jake. Let him keep the wine and the lies. We take the freedom. She hesitated. He'll hate me. He already suspects. You felt it too, didn't you? That look in his eyes. He's not stupid. I wasn't. Brandon stepped closer. Let's just burn it all down. Samantha's voice cracked. I'm ready. I raised my phone. Click. A photo of their silhouettes in betrayal. Then I walked back the way I came. Calm. Quiet. I had what I needed. I planned a romantic vineyard dinner, her last supper. Golden hour spilled across the Syrah terrace. I laid it all out. Candlelight, crisp linens, her favorite wine, even a private chef Evelyn loaned me for the evening. Samantha walked in wearing that peach dress she knew I liked, the one that clung like a secret she didn't want to keep. Wow, she whispered. What's all this for? I pulled out her chair. For us. For everything we still have. She sat down slowly, cautious like she was walking into a trap she couldn't see. I smiled, poured her a glass. You're full of surprises this weekend, she said. Trying to be the man you deserve. She looked at me then, really looked. And for a flicker, her mask slipped. Not guilt, not fear, just confusion. The dinner passed in softness. I told her I loved her. I reminded her of our honeymoon, of the hotel in Lisbon with the crooked balcony, of how she laughed when it rained on our only beach day. She smiled through it all, eyes glassy. Jake. Yeah? She reached across the table, gripped my hand. You're too good for me. I squeezed back, gently. I know. Then I kissed her knuckles and held the moment. Held it like a noose tightening. They laughed and drank. I smiled and watched the show. Evelyn announced it with her signature flair. Whitman Wine Weekend wouldn't be complete without a little healthy competition. Game night. A vineyard tradition. Trivia, charades, blind tastings. We all pretended it was for fun. But in this family, everything was about leverage. She split us into teams. Strategically, Brandon and Samantha ended up on the same side. Oh, great, Samantha said, faking a groan. Don't worry, I said, smiling. You two make a good team. Her eyes narrowed for half a second. Then she forced a laugh. We started with wine trivia. I deliberately tossed a few questions early, played the fool. Brandon, of course, dominated. Showed off. Described tannins like he was hosting a sommelier podcast. Then came charades. Samantha drew the card. Looked at it. Froze. Brandon grinned. Come on, Sam. We haven't got all night. She started acting. Something about her movements. Awkward, flustered, screamed guilt, not performance. Brandon shouted, secret affair. Everyone laughed. Samantha went still. Brandon froze too. And then the room went quiet. Too quiet. I let the silence hang. Well, Evelyn said, swirling her wine. That's one way to interpret charades. More laughter. Force this time. Samantha fumbled back into her seat. Brandon looked pale. I stood and stretched. I think I'll open another bottle. Anyone want Merlot or perhaps something rare? Samantha dropped her glass. It shattered against the stone floor. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Care to explain that one, sweetheart? Samantha bent to clean the glass, her hands shaking. Just clumsy, I guess. I crouched beside her, placed a hand on her back. It happens. But what I really meant was, you're unraveling. Just in time. Some people delete their sins. I backed them up in the cloud. I stayed up late after game night. Pretended to be tipsy. Kissed Samantha on the forehead and told her I was going to check on some work emails. She smiled, tired, disarmed. Her hand lingered on mine. You've been really amazing this weekend, she said. I waited until she fell asleep. Then I opened the iPad. The uploads had continued. I don't know if she forgot, or didn't care, or maybe some part of her wanted to be caught. 3 new photos. One was them in a hotel. Her in lingerie I bought her 2 Christmases ago. Another was a selfie. Brandon kissing her neck, her laughing, eyes closed, free. The last was a video. It started innocent. Them on a bed, talking. Then Brandon looked into the camera. He probably thinks this weekend is romantic, he said, smirking. Samantha laughed. He's so boring, he probably does. I paused the video. Stared at the still frame. Her face, her mouth mid-laugh. I transferred it all to the drive Evelyn gave me. Labeled each folder. Created a master file. Evidence. Timeline. Slideshow. The final upload was complete. I closed the laptop. Walked to the window. Looked out at the moonlight soaking the vineyard. And whispered, soon. If I was going to expose them, it had to be perfect. I woke early. Before the house stirred. Poured myself a black coffee and sat in the tasting room. Laptop open, headphones in. Evelyn joined me an hour later, in a silk robe and heels, as if betrayal required formal wear. Is it done? She asked. Almost. She poured herself a drink. 8:15 a.m. Standard Evelyn. Keep it short, she said. No one listens past the second gasp. I adjusted the formatting. Rehearsed the lines in my head. Wrote the transitions between photos. Practiced the timing. It wasn't rage I felt. It was precision. Samantha entered just before noon, barefoot, yawning. Working again? Even on vacation? Just wrapping up. She kissed my cheek. Well, don't forget, tonight's the big dinner. Evelyn's pulling out all the stops. I nodded. Wouldn't miss it. She paused. Studied my face. You sure everything's okay? Why wouldn't it be? You've just felt different. I closed the laptop, stood up, looked her in the eyes. I guess I've been doing some reflecting. She smiled, relieved. That's good. I leaned close. I'm planning a little toast tonight. Nothing big, just a few words. She touched my arm. You're sweet. I didn't answer. That afternoon, Evelyn helped me set up the dining hall. All the tech is ready, she said. Projectors calibrated. I even dimmed the lights for drama. Appreciate it. She raised a glass to me. To truth. To family, I replied. The script sat in my pocket. Memorized. Polished. I wasn't just telling a story. I was ending one. The table was set. The wine was poured. The stage was ready. Golden lights strung across the pergola, swaying in the breeze like lazy secrets. The vineyard had never looked more beautiful. It was the kind of evening people take pictures of, the kind they post with captions like blessed or family over everything. The irony made me want to laugh. Samantha wore burgundy. Fitting. Brandon had a tan blazer on, sleeves rolled just enough to be effortless. He sat across from me, smug, twirling his glass like he owned the world. Everyone was in place. The whole Whitman circle. Evelyn stood to welcome us. To another year, another gathering, and to the vines that bind us, she said. Let's toast to legacy. Glasses clinked. Laughter buzzed. I played along. Course after course came out. Chatter built. Brandon told stories of Italy. Samantha laughed too hard. I smiled just enough. Then Evelyn tapped her glass. Before dessert, I believe Jake has something to say. Every head turned to me. Samantha's eyes widened just a little. Just enough. I stood, pulled the small remote from my pocket. Just a little toast, I said. To truth. The screen behind me flickered to life. Samantha stiffened. Brandon leaned back, still smiling. Clueless. Before we dig into the sweets, I said, I thought it might be nice to share a few memories. The first image blinked on screen. Her and Brandon. In the hotel room. Fully clothed. Laughing. Innocent enough, if you weren't looking. Then another. A kiss. A bed. A hand. Samantha's glass slipped from her fingers. Brandon stood. What the hell is this? Evidence, I said. Of your love story. Gasps. Murmurs. Chair scraping. Evelyn didn't move. Just sipped her wine. There's more, I said. Samantha whispered. Jake, please. Let's not interrupt. Evelyn cut in. The man's only just begun. I clicked again. The screen changed. And now, I said, the video you really need to see. The first image was just them kissing. I wanted to start soft. The room had frozen. Samantha's face drained of color. Brandon's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, like he'd just been punched but hadn't realized it yet. I let the silence do its work. Click. The next slide, her straddling him in what looked like his loft. Daylight streaming in. Timestamp in the corner. Click. A close-up. Her hand on his chest. His fingers tangled in her hair. They were laughing. Someone in the family whispered, Jesus Christ. Click. A screen recording now. The text messages. The ones about me. Brandon. He probably thinks you're planning a baby. Samantha. He's planning lasagna. Laughter erupted from the chat bubble. Not in the room. Click. Another message. Brandon. He ever suspect anything? Samantha. Not a clue. He's too busy being perfect. Click. The video started. Samantha in bed, wearing only sheets. Brandon filming. She looked at the camera, giggling. He's probably thinking this weekend is romantic. And then she said it. He's so boring. He probably does. Silence. Thicker than before. Deeper. Someone's fork clinked against a plate. Samantha stood. Jake. Stop. Please. We can talk about this. Sit. Evelyn snapped. Brandon turned to me, face pale. What the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? I stepped forward. UF *****, my wife. Repeatedly. Lied to my face. Gave me a bottle of wine you shared after screwing her. And now you want me to explain myself? The slideshow ended on one final image. Then behind the olive trees. Their secret meeting spot. Their goodbye plan. Click. Black screen. I turned back to the table. Dessert, anyone? Silence is louder than screams, especially after betrayal. No one spoke at first. Not even Evelyn. The slideshow was still glowing on the far wall, illuminating their shame. Samantha was shaking. Brandon had sunk back into his chair, jaw clenched, eyes empty. "Say something," Samantha whispered to me. I poured another glass of wine. Took a long sip. "You already did enough talking." Brandon stood. "You ambushed us. This was psychotic." "You mean exposing the truth? That's only psychotic when you're guilty." He stepped forward. Evelyn stood before I had to. "Sit down, Brandon," she said, voice low but sharp. "Aunt Evelyn, you think I didn't know? You think I've been watching you slither around this estate for years without seeing exactly what you are? You embarrassed this family. You embarrassed me." Brandon's lips parted. Evelyn cut him off. "As of this moment, you're out of the inheritance, the trust, the vineyard deal, everything." He blinked. "You can't." "I just did." The room gasped again. Samantha turned to her. "Please, don't punish him. This was my fault too." Evelyn didn't even look at her. "You'll be leaving tomorrow." "Where am I supposed to go?" That's when I stepped in. "I already arranged it. Movers come Monday. Your things will be in storage until you figure it out." Her face crumpled. "Jake." I placed a manila folder on the table. "Prenup Clause 7C. Infidelity voids any spousal claim to assets or property. Signed and notarized." Her lip trembled. "You planned this." "No," I said. "You did. I just edited the ending." Brandon stormed out, muttering something about lawyers. Samantha sat, stunned. I looked around the room, my family, all of them stunned into something like awe. Then Evelyn raised her glass. "To Jake," she said, "for serving justice with a side of Syrah." They clinked glasses, and I walked away. She tried to say sorry. I poured myself another drink. The night after the fallout was quiet. Guests had either gone to bed early or fled entirely. Samantha found me alone on the terrace, the sky bruised purple, the last stars slipping into morning. She wore a hoodie. No makeup, no mask. "Jake," she said, "please." I didn't look at her, just swirled the wine in my glass. "I never meant to fall for him," she said. "It wasn't love. It was just escape." "You mocked me while you escaped." She winced. "I was lost. You were so perfect. I felt invisible next to you." I turned to her. "So your solution was to F*** my cousin?" Her eyes welled. "I was wrong. I know that. I wish I could take it all back. But you can't." She nodded, wiping her cheek. "Please, don't make me start over. You already did. The second you let him in." She stepped closer. I stepped back. "I came here with a wife," I said. "I'm leaving with my name clean." She opened her mouth again. I raised my glass. "We're done, Samantha." She stood there a while longer, then turned and walked inside. Later that morning, I packed my things. Evelyn met me at the gates. "You did it," she said. "I didn't want to." "No," she said. "But you needed to." She handed me a folder. "A vineyard partnership agreement." "What's this?" "You're good at planning. And you don't lie. That's rare around here." I took it, signed it, left the estate with peace in my chest. One last look at the vineyard. Rows of vines in the light. Then I whispered to myself, "I came here a husband. I left with peace, a vineyard, and my name clean."